It's very difficult to briefly summarize what Gamergate was because a lot of people get upset if you don't mention certain key contexts. But I think I can do a fairly decent job of it now. So, when I grew up, game developers and gamers were often one and the same. People would create video games not necessarily to make money, but because it was a product that they enjoyed playing and they wanted other people to play as well. You wouldn't hear game developers call their game a product. They would just refer to their game by the name, and that's because they poured their heart, soul, and passion into the game, and they viewed it as a work of art. For example, John Carmack never referred to Doom, as far as I know, as a product. It was always Doom, because for him, it was a video game that he enjoyed and wanted other people to enjoy as well. And the relationship between the gamers and the developers was very tight. Oftentimes, the gamers could talk with the developers on various forums on the internet, or they could even send mail to the developers, and the developers would listen to the community much more than they do today. Now, things start to change by around 2014. When video games start becoming popular, you see the birth of esports, where a lot of tournaments are trying to attract publicity from various corporations. And some people noticed that there is a lot of money to be had here. And the money doesn't necessarily come from making games, but it can also come from talking about video games. And this is where the corporate gaming press steps in. The corporate gaming press isn't just happy with talking about video games. They start talking a lot about social issues, because now you have activists that are interested. Activists who have managed to gain positions at the corporate gaming press. And these activists, they flat out start attacking and vilifying the gaming community. They call the gaming community every label under the sun, whether it is racist, sexist, homophobic. Basically, everything bad is due to the gamers. Now, gamers were people that were vilified way before the gaming press was vilified. I remember when I was going to school, being a geek was something bad. It wasn't something that you were proud of, and it wasn't something mainstream. Being a geek, as Destiny likes to put it, made you radioactive to pussy. Because most women were turned off by it. They would be like, why are you playing video games? These are things made for children. When are you going to grow up? Or they would say stuff like, why are you still reading comic books? That's meant for children. Why aren't you reading real books? And it was also the fact that a lot of gamers would be so addicted to games that they played at the time, like World of Warcraft or Counter-Strike, that they would completely ignore their girlfriends. And I personally know a lot of relationships which broke just because the guy wouldn't pay attention to the needs of his girlfriend. And you can see memes on the internet really reflecting this reality. You can see movies reflecting this reality, like the 40-year-old virgin. The first thing that happens when the woman moves into his house, she throws away his action figures and throws away his comic books. Why? Because that's for children. That's not for adults. And I would say that most gamers were actually single men because they were so addicted to gaming. Like, gaming was so addictive at the time that if you played World of Warcraft 10 hours a day, you wouldn't have time to go out and socialize and make friends outside of the virtual world, which meant that you were very unpopular with the ladies. And it created, I guess, like the primordial incel, which didn't hate women, but he had no idea on how to actually speak with a girl. And this is why, like, whenever you had like a woman going into a comic book store at the time, or a video game store, like, immediately everyone would turn their heads and they would look very bewildered by what they are seeing. Now, this is when the corporate press starts changing the narrative, and they realize that they can place a lot of their activists and a lot of their people in positions of power by shaming gamers and saying, look, the reason you don't have more women in your community is nothing to do with the fact that women aren't interested in it and you guys are being weird because you don't socialize. No. It's because all of you are sexist. You just hate women. And a lot of gamers bought into that. A lot of gamers went like, okay, well, maybe if we stop being sexist, we're going to get more women playing video games. How can we stop being sexist? Oh, I know, we need to read Polygon, we need to watch more Rita Sarkeesian. Like, these are the people that's going to train us how to be less sexist, and by being less sexist, we're going to get more women into the video gaming industry. And other people, and this is like the overwhelming majority, viewed what the press is doing as an attack on gamers. They viewed it as gamers being the villains. The press constantly saying that video gamers are sexist, they're misogynist, they're racist, and to them it was like literally the same attacks that they would get from the outside world, like from the jocks and from the bullies at school, but now it was coming from inside their community. And they started speaking out about it, and they noticed that all of these publications that are attacking the gamers happen to be located in California, and all the people working at these publications seem to know each other and talk with each other. So it's not something grassroots, it's not something organic, but it's something that's being manufactured, and it's coming top down from the Californian culture being dictated to the rest of the world. Now, people start speaking up about it, and I think like by 2014 August, you have like one of these activists that constantly lecture gamers about how not to be sexist, and she goes by the name Zoe Quinn. And she says that, look, if you cheat on your girlfriend, that's like rape, because she wouldn't give you the consent if she knew you were cheating on her, right? So like these are like the ridiculous arguments that the activists were saying. Something that no one believes. I mean, everyone believes cheating is wrong, but like no one would compare cheating to rape, right? So this person becomes the victim of a sex scandal, because turns out like her boyfriend comes out and says like, hey, you know, like she cheated on me with 5 people. So that means like she raped me 5 times, right? And now you see that people are starting to talk about this issue. They're making fun of it. And it's like, look, you have such dumb opinions, but you can't live the life you preach. You're being a problem. Now, the gaming press, which you would think that they're fighting sexism and they all agree that, yes, like cheating is rape, they would be like, yeah, like Zoe Quinn is a problem. But no, what they did is they formed ranks. They started defending her. But not only that, you see, the gaming press had connections to various internet websites. Because at the time, the idea of censoring someone was unheard of. The idea of flat out censoring a person on the internet for political opinions was very bizarre. And now you have like moderators on Reddit, you have janitors on 4chan, you have various gaming sites policing their forums, which at the time every gaming website had a forum, and other places just flat out banning people for talking about this sex scandal. Like, you could have talked about any other sex scandal you wanted. You could have talked about Tiger Woods. You could have talked about Hulk Hogan's sex tape. You could have talked about anything you wanted, just not this one. This one was a sacred cow. And again, like, this created a Streisand effect, which pissed off even more people. And now a lot of people were outraged, not because of the sex scandal, but because of the censorship and the hypocrisy that is surrounding these people. And the fact that most of the corporate press was now advocating for terms of service and for curating speech. It was the beginning of the censorship of the internet. And many people didn't like that. So what ends up happening is that the gaming press, in response, they release a series of articles attacking and demonizing gamers even more. Saying that gamers are dead, gamers are over, you know, the industry doesn't need gamers. And this is when Gamergate really starts kicking off, because now you have like people on Reddit, people on Twitter, people on Tumblr, which Tumblr was far left at the time, and people on 4chan, so you probably know what 4chan is. Like all these people with different ideologies and completely different sets of beliefs joining together in a movement just to mess with the corporate press. And they start targeting their advertisers. They like find out, okay, this journalist said this problematic thing, or this journalist is attacking its readers. What do you think, Intel? Do you think like this is okay? Like, do you think this is normal? So you see the first, I would say, cancel culture on the internet forming, where a group of disgruntled consumers are so pissed off at the gaming press for the way they behaved, for the way they were treated, and for the way that they attack their readers on a daily basis, that now there is like this unanimous push from the left to the far right, like everyone is against the gaming press. And while this is happening, you have certain people using what I like to call the grift wheel. Now, this is an example of the grift wheel, but it definitely works time and time again on Twitter, especially if you have the corporate press on your side. So you have people like Zoe Quinn, people like Rita Sarkisian, people like Brianna Wu using the grift wheel. And the grift wheel works like this. You say something controversial that also attacks the community. So, for example, why did a white woman write a cookbook about dumplings and noodles? So you're basically insinuating that white women, like people based on their arbitrary characteristics, shouldn't be able to write certain books, which obviously is going to upset liberal people. And now you start antagonizing them, saying that dumpling book tweet really got the translucent thin skin seething overnight. You antagonize them even more, saying all this rage over this incredibly lukewarm shitpost, Lemao, touch grass losers, and then you ask for donations. And it's like, anyway, therapy cost me $130. Please give it because I'm being harassed on the internet, right? So this is the grift wheel. This is how it works. You antagonize people, and then you claim that you got harassment and you need donations in order to, I guess like for Brianna Wu, it was to hire a person like a moderator in order to go through her tweets. And for that, she was getting at one point, I believe, like $16,000 on Patreon. Well, not only does this look like money laundering for like when you get to the point of $16,000, but it's pretty much like the Catholic Church when the bourgeois come in and they're like, okay, you can pay to have your sins forgiven. So you give money to a priest and the priest will forgive your sins. And it's pretty much why people donate money to these characters. It's like, let me show you how progressive I am. Look, I donated money to this person, and I'm doing the good cause. Like I'm such a progressive individual. And then you have like all these things where like someone says an ignorant or dishonest statement, people are rebutting, they're providing evidence on the contrary. The person is saying, oh no, all of you are man babies, fanboys, incels, blah, blah, blah. And when people are like, call out, I see what you're doing, like this is harassment, please, terms of service, get rid of these people. So was Gamergate a harassment campaign? Yes and no. I mean, it really depends because as I mentioned, like there were people from the far left all the way to the far right that took place in this. Most people were definitely trying to get others fired. Like they were definitely writing email campaigns to advertisers. They were pressuring corporations to fire certain journalists. And this was based on the things that they said, which is kind of funny because a lot of these journalists are now, it's like, oh, well, like freedom of speech doesn't mean freedom from consequences. So like, yeah, like Gamergate was like that. There were other people that genuinely tried to do nasty stuff like harassment. You had like, as I mentioned, the far left and the far right in the movement. So they were definitely like trying to harass people. So it like depends on the type of individual. But honestly, like I can't think of a single grassroots movement that doesn't have bad apples. Now, I do like to mention that the FBI found no wrongdoing. So there was nothing illegal being done here. And it's just like the people with the megaphone that got to set the narrative. So it's the corporate press that got to set the narrative. And all of this is ignoring the fact that they're saying it's like, yeah, gamers hate women. But it's ignoring the fact that feminists hate women in the video gaming industry. Like, watch my video on Amy Hennig and how she got treated. And Amy Hennig is like one of the best examples of a successful woman in the video gaming industry. Everyone knows her games. Everyone knows about Uncharted. Everyone knows about the Soul Reaver video game franchise. And she was completely bullied by people who go like, oh yes, I'm a feminist. I want more women in positions of power. Let me just get this woman fired so I can take her place. Right? And that's pretty much how I would say Gamergate was. Hopefully this video was informative. Let me know what you guys think. And honestly, like the reason that they hate it so much and the reason that they fear it so much is because you actually had the populist movement, like a genuine grassroots movement that was directed against corporations. Wasn't directed against people. The people that were claiming to get harassed, from what I could see, they were really into the grift wheel and they were doing this in order to get money. Brianna Wu made tens of thousands of dollars out of this shit. Rita Sarkisian made millions of dollars out of Gamergate. Like all of these women that claim to get harassed, if you look at the wallet that they were having and the money that they made, you would probably want to be in their shoes. I'm not even lying. Like I would definitely want to be like Zoe Quinn or Anita Sarkeesian and go to the UN and talk about my plight. Get to visit all these nice countries and then make some money on the side. Like that is the dream job for me. So if I were to get internet harassment and also be rich, I would take the internet harassment any day. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you in the comment section. Take care.